What's up, y'all? Aaron Gillespie here, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Punkvideosrock.
Listening to the record, I feel like it's a different voice. Um, obviously I'm used to listening to your voice with your various projects, but with this, I feel like your voice matured a lot.
Maybe, yeah. I'm getting old. No, that the record was kind of made out of a time of turmoil for me, so I think a lot of it probably has to do with that. I was kind of going through essentially the worst time in my life, so I think that maybe, you know, that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
You know.
What did, what did all the songs that you put on this record? Why were they so significant for this record?
A bunch of reasons. I went through a divorce about a year ago, and so I did 3 originals on there, and then the rest of them are covers that kind of spoke to me about that era in my life. Songs that I had been part of for a long time that kind of really spoke to me again in that moment. And also, this is the 3rd one of these solo tours I've done, and I've been playing those songs.
Right.
So I was I would love to have a recorded component to go with everything else. So.
And with putting the songs that you had already done with The Almost and with Underoath, for example, they're old songs, but you made them fresh again. So going into the studio to actually record them, I know you produced it and did it yourself, but going into the studio to record them, how did you really change it to make it sound so new?
To be honest, there was no preconceived let's make it this way. I just sort of did it.
Yeah.
And the idea was to kind of leave it as untouched as possible. We did the whole record in 3 days. I own my own studio, so I kind of just weird odd hours, and I kind of worked on it for a few months, but real recording time was 3 days.
Yeah.
And I had kind of created all those versions on the road. Over the last couple of these. I did one tour with William Beckett, another one with the dude from State Champs, solo tour, So I kind of had created those versions just by osmosis, sort of finding a way to play them alone, to play them for these small crowds we've been doing these acoustic shows for. So the versions just kind of happened. There was no real okay, so this song we're going to make this, it was sort of just mostly a kind of natural progression of how we would do those types of songs.
Right.
So.
And going into the studio this time around, you're doing it on your own. Is this the first time that you've actually produced something on your own?
I've been producing records for other people for years, but I just got my own studio a couple of years ago because I was tired of renting places. And so for myself, I've never really produced my own record for myself. I would never trust myself, really. A lot of the Almost records, I recorded everything alone.
Yeah.
But I just never really trust myself, to you always want that second person or that third person to be okay, that's stupid, or, that doesn't make any sense, or why are you doing it that way, or why are you singing that way? So I kind of just sort of out of necessity, in a sense, with this one, because I was just going through such a rough time. It was just a good healing kind of exercise for me, to just kind of do it and trust myself with it and not. I think the record kind of stands as its own thing because I didn't really obsess over it. I sort of just went and made it. It wasn't a very meditated thing,
Right.
So.
Were there any hardships that you had, maybe recording the record, whether it was a specific song you were trying to get out?
Just so fast, on purpose. I needed.
Just ready to do it.
Well, not even ready. I just needed to capture it at that time, the way that I was feeling and kind of the position that I was in as a man at the time. And I think that, I made a rule for myself to just do it, not to overthink it or worry about what was going to happen, or I kind of just made the record. So.
Right.
Yeah.
With the original songs that you put on here, how different was that writing process as opposed to anything else you've done?
I've kind of always done it the same way. I'm a bit of a binge writer. I'll write a record and then I won't write again for myself. I write for a lot of other people, so I'm writing songs pretty much daily if I'm off the road. But I write songs for myself maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah.
So I kind of go through a binge period where I'll write 40 songs for myself and then pick 10. So I had been writing kind of through the divorce and through the negative phase of my life that I was in, and I have a bunch that I'll put another record out eventually that's just originals of my newer solo stuff. But those 3 kind of really spoke to the time, and I felt fit the vibe of the rest of the record, with all the other songs and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Now, you mentioned you have enough for more, so you see yourself doing some more, pursuing a solo artist for a little longer?
Not, I don't have much time to, but I at least try to do maybe 1 or 2 of these a year, solo tours, so I'd like to, I don't really know. You can never tell what the future holds. I feel like it changes every fucking day in terms of just what, in my career, what I'm doing, and where I'm at. So, yeah.
Now, with the studio again, you're doing this all on your own. There was nobody else that helped you, like, from your previous bands. It was specifically like you wanted
it was
to.
just me. I have my studio. I have a partner, so he engineered for me some, and I did some of it just straight up, alone. So it's just, like, yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about the different errands, whether it's Underoath, the Almost, and your solo artist?
I don't know. I kind of look at everything the same way. I think that you get different taste of someone, their artistry, like, whatever project they're doing. But for me, I don't approach it all the same way. Yeah. Like, I always want to put out the best product I can and, write from my soul the best I can. I don't really like the whole, like wearing different hats. I kind of think that everyone has the same hat. You just tilt it a different way for different reasons. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
But in this case, like, how do you know what you're writing for? Are you sitting down specifically for whatever?
I don't do that. I don't do like specific thing. Like, I write for whatever. I just write, and then after the fact, like when I have a demo, I'm like, okay, that maybe isn't for the solo thing, or that maybe isn't for this or that, or whatever. I think that I sort of just get in where I fit in. I just don't really think. I think it's bad art to do something, whether that's songwriting or like text writing or poems or painting or whatever, and go, okay, this is only for this show, or this is only for this piece of art. I just think you just do it, and then you kind of find where it fits later on. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, you've been mentioning that you've written for other people as well. How does that help you in the way that you write today?
So much. Like, when you sit in another room with a different person that you're not in a band with, or you're not musically connected to in any way, and you kind of help them with their vision, and you kind of steer their vision in a different direction, or they want to steer it in the same direction, or whatever, it kind of shows you who you are as a writer. I think getting in a room with another person is like a really cool, different, important thing, so, yeah.
What made you start writing for other people? Is it, opportunity happened, or something you've been looking at?
Opportunity, and I really am into the idea of I like the idea of writing something with someone and it not being yours, so you kind of like, you put
just
your,
let it go.
Yeah, because like when you write a song you're really passionate about, it becomes like a child where you're like, I gotta protect this, or like,
Right.
I gotta fight for it to be the way that I think it should be, or whatever. But when you write some song for someone else, you sit in a room with someone for a few hours, or in a studio for a day or two, and then you're like, well, you put wings on it and let it do what it wants. You know what I mean? As opposed to the whole like brooding over something, or which with my solo records, what I tried not to do was just let it go. So I like that feeling. That's why I like writing with other people, because you're sort of like, it's your problem now. Like, right. You know what I mean? Like, we had a great time doing this, and now you're the one that is wearing the artist hat. Right. I just assisted you with that. So now I don't have to worry about, the position I'm in, or how like I can tell the story. Like, right. You just put it out into the atmosphere and see what happens.
Now, Anthony Ranieri, I believe he's a management mate as well, right?
He is, yeah.
He writes for a lot of pop artists as well. Mm-hmm. Are you doing the same, working for pop artists, or are you working for a band?
Written for other bands, country singers, a little bit of everything. I just like good songs. I try not to discriminate in my own writing with genres. Right. You know what I mean? I feel like nowadays, like, with bands, it's so different than it used to be. It was all about like a song, like a vibe, or like a thing, and now it's so much about a brand, because obviously music is free, and things have changed so much, which is good and bad, whatever, but like, it's just a different approach now. I think you just kind of, you look at something not as a whole, but as a snippet, when you're writing a song for someone, especially now, whether it's pop or, whatever, you kind of just, this is the moment of art that I gave you, and this is it. Like, whatever you do with that is what you do with it. But I think it's just a different time, so you look at it a different way. You know what I mean?
That's crazy. I didn't even know you were a writer for other people.
Yeah. I've been kind of lax with it the last year or so. Well, actually, the last 3 years. I was really, like, 2010, 2013, like, really in it, man. Like, 60, 70 songs a year for other people. And then I started playing drums for Paramore, and just got super busy. And now with Underoath back, I just haven't really had time to, like, because you go somewhere, I don't, you go to New York or Nashville or LA and kind of sit with people, and I don't live in any of those places. So, I don't have the time to, like, I used to take writing trips once a month for a week. And I don't do that anymore, not right now. I'm just not not there right now. So.
Right. And you just mentioned like going on tour with Paramore and also doing, I mean, the Underoath reunion we were talking earlier. Like that was you guys went all out with that.
Yeah, we did.
And you know, like I feel like one, you guys haven't been used to that in a while.
Sure.
So what is that like now? Like coming, especially now that the tour's over. Like how do you guys feel?
Good. We just announced the Australian portion of that same tour, which is next year. I think we keep saying that kind of post 30 Underoath is so much better than pre 30 Underoath. I think we just have a different way of handling things, and of handling ourselves as men. You know, so there's a whole lot less bullshit, a whole lot less drama. You know, it's a simpler time now, even though there's way more moving parts and it's larger, and you know, there's more financial constraints. And
does it feel more like a business now?
No, it's less like a business, honestly. Like we don't have anything to lose. You know, we're not trying to, like, we all have other things. Like, so it's not like we're all trying to make this giant career out of it. We're just doing it because we love it, and we decided that we really needed to still do it. You know, it wasn't like, you know. And that was our big thing, is we weren't going to go out and grab a bunch of money and never come back. We're like, if we're going to come back and do a tour, let's just keep doing it. Right. So we'll see what happens. But, yeah, it feels less like a business. I mean, everyone's better friends. Everyone's older, you know, so I think that's like a huge thing. So
as far as those like tour cycles, those schedules go, what was that like for you guys this time around, that you guys are older now, that you guys have families?
I've been doing it with Paramore for the last 3 or 4 years, like super busy, and kind of balancing the songwriting thing in my studio. So for me, it was nice because I knew I just had that to look forward to. I think some of the other guys, it was a little bit of a toll. It took a little toll because some of us have 3 kids, and you know, but we'll see. Time will tell. Yeah.
Back to the album, Out of the Badlands. There's a little like folkish vibe out of you.
Sure. Yeah.
Where did that really originate for you?
I grew up in the South, you know, listening to that kind of music. So for me, I think I've always kind of suppressed that because I got really involved in like the alternative music world and had a lot of really great success there. And so for me, with this record, there was no goal. You know, there was no like, let's try to make this record this or make it that. I just did it. So I think you got to just get a natural flavor of that because that's just kind of in my soul, you know. So.
And lastly, what else can we expect from you? Like the remainder of the year is almost over.
Yeah.
So are we just gonna see some more solo shows from you
next year that I can't talk about?
Okay.
But I'm gonna finish this tour like another week and a half, and then I'm gonna go home for the holidays, and I have 1 or 2 fly out things in December. But I'm gonna take the rest of the year off. It's been a crazy year, so. I produce bands, so my studio is booked out for the rest of the year, so I've got a lot of that stuff to do, but yeah.
Now for those bands that might want to book you, or artists that might want to book you for writing, how does that work?
It's just AaronGillespie.com. Everything is there, so yeah.